the amount of money you could be using more efficiently from this budgeting trick is exactly why it's so important to have a budget, to know where your money is coming from and how much you're spending and where your money is going exactly. Because all these tricks with budgeting and all these ways to save with budgeting fall through the cracks when you are not aware of where your money is going and where is it coming from. And so this budgeting trick is actually if you work a weekly or a bi-weekly schedule and you get paid weekly or bi-weekly, you end up with an extra, or not really an extra, but like an extra 4 payments for the weekly and 2 payments for the bi-weekly. And if you're not budgeting, you don't really realize it because you really have your monthly expenses, whatever, and you go out and spend here and there and there and there, and you're not really paying attention to how much you're spending or where you're going out and what are your expenses, your monthly expenses and so far. And you end up not really feeling that extra 4 payments because it's not really extra, but if you budget your monthly expenses, you end up with 4 extra for the weekly and 2 extra for the biweekly. And so what that helps you do is, for example, like if you're on the weekly schedule, you get paid weekly for 2026, for example, you will have an extra paycheck in January, May, July, and October, which helps you be able to plan things based on that extra money. Because if your budget for example, for January, and you get an extra paycheck, your budget is actually for the 4 paychecks because you budget for 4 weeks a month. And how the year goes is the year has 52. So if you times 4 by 12 months, you end up with 48. So there's 4 extra weeks that get spread out into 4 of the months in the year. And depending on how your payment starts at the beginning of the year, it will determine which months. So you can actually budget a vacation, an extra thing that you need to buy or something by knowing those months and knowing when you're going to get that extra paycheck. Because it's extra because it's not within your expenses of that month. So, and for the biweekly, the same thing. You get 2 extra paychecks because it's biweekly. And for 2026, it would be either January, July, or May and October, depending on when you started your payments, whether it was Friday, January 2nd or Friday, January 9th. And so when you look at that and how much you can benefit from these tricks in budgeting and in general, like you can find other tricks. It's just I've been budgeting my expenses for the past 10 years or 15 years now, and I've been finding all these gems in the budgeting system that have made me realize how much value there is in knowing where your money is going. And that's why I want to share this information so that if you are out there working a weekly payment schedule or bi-weekly, you can actually start realizing that you get an extra paycheck every certain month throughout the year. And you can allocate that towards something that you can benefit from instead of it just falling through the cracks. And it doesn't work, obviously, for the monthly because if you get paid every month, there's 12 months in a year and there's no extra. It's not really extra, but you know how the math goes. It's not really an extra. There's no really an extra paycheck there. But all in all, it's the same amount of money you get paid. But when you're not actually knowing where it goes, you could spend it and it just falls through the cracks. So budgeting is very powerful because you can find a lot of extra money just from knowing where your expenses are going, because you can cut down on certain stuff that you don't see necessarily, but without a budget, you won't see it. And that's why budgeting is very, 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 very important.